Hello and welcome to this GBMS tutorial video where we will show you how to add locations to your warehouse. From the main menu we go to Warehouse Management, Item and Warehouse Settings, Warehouse Setup, and then Warehouses. We're going to select our Los Angeles warehouse that we had previously created. If we click on the Locations tab, we can see that after we created this new warehouse, there are some locations that have been automatically created. Notice that there is one location that was created that has the same name as the warehouse code that we had entered for this warehouse. This is the LA location. This is the name that we had used for the warehouse code for this warehouse. This location is a non-system location that can be used for all inventory transactions. The other locations that were created by GBMS are GBMS system locations that only GBMS uses, which cannot be deleted by the user. The receive location, for example, is the location that items are placed into when they are received into GBMS, but not yet put away. These system locations give you visibility of all items when the item is not physically in one of your user-defined locations. Locations can be manually added to GBMS and also imported using GBMS's import utility. Here we will show you how to manually add a location. To add a location, we can either click on the Add link, or we can click on one of the locations to open up the Locations window, and then click on the New button on the menu bar of the Locations window to create the new location. Recall that we set up the location dimensions in the settings for the warehouse, and we can now see them here in our Locations window. Below the row, column, and shelf location dimensions, we see text boxes that we can enter the row, column, and shelf coordinates into in order to generate the location ID. So if we enter 1, 1, and 1, and then click on the Generate ID link, we will have generated a location called 1-1-1. We don't actually have to use these coordinate fields for every location we enter and then click on the Generate ID link. We could also have just created a location called 1-1-1. Either method will create a valid location. Additionally, the dashes or hyphens are simply used for readability for location and are also not required. Next, we need to select the type of location that we want this location to be. Location types are user-defined, and there is no limitation as to the kinds of location types you would like to create or how many different location types you would like to have. If you're using zones, you can select a user-defined zone. With zones, there's also no limitation as to the kinds of zones you would like to create or how many zones you would like to have. If you do plan to use zones, you may want to set those up first so that they are available to select when you enter your locations. The Allow Pick option prevents allocations of any items that are in this location when a sales order is approved and allocations are generated. So if you want to prevent an item from being sold, you enable this option by actually selecting No, and going forward, GBMS will not allocate from this location. Setting this option to No will not, however, remove any current locations that had already been created for the items in this location. The Backflush option permits backflushing of items from this location. Backflushing is a very efficient way to remove certain items from inventory rather than requiring workers to pick the items. For example, small items like screws that are used to assemble a table that we make are generally not picked with the other components on the bill of material for the table. Instead, the screws are at the worker's workstation and they are automatically removed or backflushed from an inventory location where the screws are stored after the assembly of the table is completed. In order to use this location, we must set the status of this location to active. If this status is inactive, we will not be able to perform inventory transactions such as picking, put away, adjustments, and inventory movements. To use GBMS features that do calculations based on the dimensions capacity of a location, you will need to set the dimensions option to yes, which then enables the dimension fields below, and you can fill in the dimensions and capacity fields. The capacity fields to the right are only enabled if you have GBMS's 3PL module enabled. The last field in the General tab that we can enable is the Primary Forward Picking checkbox. This option designates this location as a forward-picking location if it is checked, and you can then use a replenishment report to aid in restocking this location when it is low, which helps with preventing pickers from having to pick from overstock locations. After we have entered all our settings, we should click on the Save button to save the settings we just entered. This creates and saves our new warehouse location. If you would like to assign categories now to this location, click on the Categories tab and select a category from the drop-down list and then click on the Add button. Items can also be assigned to the location by clicking on the Items tab, entering an item ID along with a min and max quantity, and then clicking on the Add button. In the Options tab, there is a Location Freeze button that allows you to freeze the location to prevent all inventory transaction activity for just this location. During a physical inventory, the entire warehouse is frozen, so it's not necessary to freeze locations individually. This completes our tutorial on how to add locations into a warehouse. Thanks for watching, and please check out our other videos for more helpful information on GBMS.